Good evening. I'm calling the Monday, February 11, 2019 Planning Commission meeting to order. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, first thing on the agenda tonight is the approval of tonight's agenda. Do I have any requests for changes? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor to approve the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Agenda's approved. Next up is the approval of the minutes from the last meeting, which was held Monday, January 28th, 2019. Do I have any requests for changes or concerns? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion approved from Commissioner Weber and a second by Commissioner Farr. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Next up is informational meeting starring Lake Park Shelter, location 14800 Pioneer Trail, request for construction of a park shelter building. Will you be taking us through the presentation?
Yep.
Right.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, thanks for coming. And so really wanted to bring this before you guys to get your valuable input on our new Starring Lake building reconstruction project that we're hoping to complete this summer. Most of you should probably know that Starring Lake Park is what we consider, it's one of our community parks. It's one of our larger parks that really draw from anywhere in the city. It's not kind of your neighborhood park that you would walk to go play on the playground. It's more of a destination type park. We've done a lot of reconstruction projects and kind of updates to that park over the last 3 to 4 years, starting with the playground, and then now with the addition of new pickleball courts, tennis court and basketball court last year. And so this is kind of hopefully our last phase, at least for a little while, of kind of updating that park to bring it into kind of current standards, really revamp it, get it back to one of those destination type areas that we want the community to really enjoy, make great use of, and add some more amenities to it. So I'm gonna run through a few things here with you guys. Obviously, as I'm going through it, make sure, interrupt, ask any questions as I'm going through, but I'll try and touch on quite a few things and then definitely at least open up for questions at the end. So. If you haven't been there, this is the current structure out at Starring Lake Park. It was built in 1983. Definitely has a lot of features that have been well or have done well for the park, but as far as things like accessibility, definitely kind of sustainability, energy efficiency, that type of stuff, it's definitely lacking now. It's kind of run its course. It's, like I said, been good while it's been there, but definitely in need of a major update. And so what we have planned now is the rendering here, basically showing the front and kind of center part, a main lobby type area, but a lot of glass, a lot of kind of brightness, bringing natural light into the area. We're also looking to kind of separate both the warming house area for the skating rink and more of the gathering area or warming house area for the sledding hill. So if you're kind of looking at the picture to orient yourself, the skating oval would be to your left and the sledding hill would be down to your right. You can kind of see also over there on the right is an outdoor picnic pavilion. The current building kind of has a covered space in the back of it. It's not very big. Functions pretty well if you kind of have the building and the picnic area, but really as a separate space, it doesn't really work too well if you want to have a family gathering, a graduation party, that type of stuff. So this would be another area that would be able to function for rentals, or say you're holding a 5K going around the lake, you could have that as kind of your headquarters, or pickleball tournament could kind of be that. One update, this is a little bit older of a rendering and kind of shows that picnic pavilion connected to the building that actually was taken out It'll be its own separate structure now, but obviously close enough that you can access it. So just kind of a rendering showing what it would look like from the parking lot. But this is kind of the site plan. So basically, the building itself gets shifted a little bit to the south and a little bit to the west. And what we wanted to do that for was to make sure those large oaks that kind of surround the building itself right now, that those are preserved. So basically, any of the hard space that's there now is getting converted, but any of that green space towards those oaks is just going to be untouched. So we're kind of shifting it, and you can kind of see the plaza area in the back. That's basically where about the building sits right now. So everything kind of gets pulled a little bit closer to the skating rink, but you can see the everything else kind of is in the same general area. It's pretty close to where it is, but also some enhancements to the parking area. Right now, that's basically just a loop connecting the two parking lots. Add a few parking stalls there. Definitely add a few more accessibility stalls to get them closer to the building, get them closer to the playground, to improve access there. And then some features with the a drop-off area where if somebody is renting the pavilion or renting one of the rooms, that they can kind of pull up there, have room to unload, load, get everything out of their car, and then proceed to park somewhere else. So you can kind of see the basic layout stays the same, the rest of the parking lot, the pickleball courts, all of that. And then you can somewhat see just by the lines, actually not on this one, but we'll be connecting to city sanitary sewer. Currently, this is the last building that we have that's still on septic. So we want to make sure that we're connecting to sanitary sewer and capping that and getting rid of that getting that onto city utilities. And so this is a little bit closer view. As I mentioned, basically the building footprint right now is over most of that back pavilion. We're showing a future fire pit there that if we're doing our winter blasts that we hold every year, or even staffing just for normal sledding or skating, we can have a gas fire pit back there, kind of have another little gathering area for people to hang around. And then this is a little bit easier too to also see. We kind of rounded the edges on both the warming house area and the gathering area, and then provided some of that overhang of the roof, squared those off with some benches underneath. So definitely if somebody wants to come and sled or somebody wants to come and skate while the building isn't open or isn't being operated, that they have a place to put their skates on or to put their boots on, get their sled. And looking at some type of heating structure out there, we had started with kind of some overhead infrared, but have kind of heard that that's not the best way to produce some heat. So whether we'll have some kind of standalone heating elements, that type of stuff, but where you can just go push a button, turns on for 10 minutes, gives you that little bit of heat, and then can go back and go sledding or can go back and go skating. But a place for somebody to warm up, take a break when the building's not being staffed and isn't open for general use. So to get a little bit closer into the building itself, as I mentioned, we're kind of trying to separate the two warming house areas, really get the skaters kind of into one area. Usually they have a little more bag, kind of skates, that type of stuff. Give them their area, and then a larger gathering area that will serve as kind of the sledding hill warming house, but then also we envision being a popular rental space for residents in the summer. Can hold about 80 people seated, but definitely has kind of the views looking down at the lake. We tried to bring the elevation of the buildings actually coming up about 2 feet to bring that up so that you can see down that sledding hill, see the lake, kind of have those views. And that whole, which would be the northeastern side, is all just windows, and then with some high top kind of bar seating where mom or dad can come, or grandpa and grandma can come sit, watch the kids as they're sledding, drink a coffee. We'll have definitely power outlets with USB ports, that type of stuff that they can sit on their laptop, do what they need to do while the kids are out sledding. So we see that as being a very popular area. But also adding a little command center, what we're calling a command center, will kind of serve as the headquarters for staff as we operate the building during normal operating times, but then also for rentals. We'll have kind of a fridge, a counter space with a sink, that if they have crock pots or food prep they need to do, that'll be an area that'll be open to them to be able to utilize to do any preparations that they have for their gathering. And then a large storage area, bathrooms, and then obviously the mechanical. But how we're envisioning this is the lobby area and the bathrooms. Currently, the current building, the bathrooms are open 24/7. We don't lock those, but we're able to kind of section off the main building area. And that's kind of what we're looking at with this, is if that's something we want to continue to offer, we'll be able to kind of section that area off, be able to lock the warming house area, the gathering area, and just have somebody would be able to access the lobby and then both bathrooms. But that's another reason why we wanted to make that lobby really kind of visible. We have a lot of windows, a lot of lighting, so that if somebody's in there in the middle of the night, somebody driving by can see and make sure that send them on their way if we need to. But that's still something we're looking at. We're also looking at using kind of a card access type scenario with the building where we can have hours that lobby is even open, to kind of keep that under control. So, and then this kind of shows how it could be set up for either a rental or during the winter, during operating times for the sledding hill. Large tables for seating, and then kind of on the bottom of that, what we're looking at is something we've seen a lot of other communities use, where it's actually benches, but then they have small cubbies underneath it, that if you have a bag or a pair of boots or something else, that you can put those underneath to store them while you're either skating or sledding. And then those actually kind of tip up and can be stored to kind of maximize space, that if you wanted to get a few more tables in there for a rental. But definitely something that we think would be used quite a bit, kind of have that accessible storage area for bags and excess clothing. So,
Guess your question.
Yep.
Above the warming house, does that say prep in that room?
above warming house.
That
Yep, so
The
that,
prep.
sorry, yeah, that is another small little prep area. Kind of gone over what the command center would be for that larger room. We would have kind of duplicate that on a smaller scale for the other area. So we would be able to have a group or somebody rent both the gathering room or the sledding area room and the warming house area, and those could kind of operate separately. So there's a small little, just a prep area basically with some counter space and a sink. And so this shows a little bit of the exterior elevations. So the majority of the building would be brick, obviously with a lot of windows and stuff too. There's quite a bit of glass. And then the top part, we would use kind of some hardy siding and trim, and then asphalt shingle roof. So we kind of played around with a few different materials, and kind of what we came up with, both think it would look nice, but then also kind of trying to keep costs in mind to be able to get the size and to be able to do what we want to do. So still should be a pretty good looking building, but and also function well. So that kind of shows the exterior. And then the rooftop view. So we'll have two kind of pitched roofs over the warming house areas, and then a flat roof basically over kind of the lobby area, the bathrooms, mechanical, that type of stuff. So this shows we'll actually be using 3 separate HVAC units, one for kind of the warming house, the sledding hill area, basically one for the other sledding area, and then one for kind of the central area, basically to be able to keep those the warming house areas warm, even though there's a lot of people probably going to be coming in and out, a lot of doors opening. We looked at vestibules kind of on a lot of the doors and really found that this would be the best way to do it with 3 separate heating units. And then obviously screening for all the mechanical on top of that flat roof area. And then a lot of that would drain, so the flat roof area drains down directly into our storm sewer area, and then have storm ponds and other areas for the rest of it to control our infiltration basins and stormwater management. So then just some kind of features, the lobby area, about 362, the skating warming area, a little bit about the same size as what the current size of the building kind of warming house area is now, but then we're adding just under 1,300 square feet for that larger gathering area. And like I mentioned before, we're looking at that both with popularity of the sledding hill now, but then really having this be a destination rental for residents. Like I said, to have those glass wall looking down over the sledding hill onto the lake, really having some pretty nice views and a nice place to have family reunions or graduation parties, that type of stuff. So having the command center then too, if we wanted to start having snowshoe rentals or sled rentals or that type of stuff, obviously having that extra space would be able to allow us to expand what we're kind of offering out at that park during the winter. We have all of our cross-country ski trails in this park, so having cross-country skis where residents can come, you know, whether it's free of charge or a really small nominal fee, we can offer that to people to go out and experience different things in the winter that currently we aren't able to do with the building just based on its size. And so, like I mentioned, the restroom and lobby, we're still looking at the way it's set up now, still be able to offer that 24/7 bathroom availability while still keeping the rest of the building secured, but making sure that lobby has high visibility. And then enhancing the parking entrance and the plaza area kind of around the building with some new landscaping, with some pollinator-friendly plant material, a little rain garden type area, trying to make sure we do all of that. And then the way we're currently bidding it right now is the picnic shelter would be a bid alternate, but we're hoping if we get, you know, some good pricing, some good bids in, that everything would be able to be built. But it's set up where if we needed to come back later on, we could definitely add that at a different time. And so just to kind of take you through some of the renderings, obviously kind of the south and the cross section, kind of showing how that would look. And again, the picnic shelter would be there, but it wouldn't be connected to the actual building itself. It would be kind of a standalone. And then looking at it from the back side, so all the windows and stuff you see there would be kind of looking down the sledding hill, looking down over the lake, kind of capturing all of those views from the top of the hill up there, and then showing it from both the playground side and the skating oval side. And so again, the rendering. And then that would be kind of a mock-up of what it might look like from the inside of that large gathering area. Again, with all of the windows, trying to capture those views. So, any questions?
Matt, I was wondering, is this an opportunity for the city to demonstrate how solar energy can offset the cost of electricity that's going to be involved in the mechanicals here, powering the refrigerators and the warming areas? And so I'm curious, not just from the standpoint of the 2040 plan, but also as people come there, it's a gathering place,
Yep.
they begin to see how solar works in terms of renewable energy.
And so we did look at that as part of the building itself, but unfortunately, kind of the area that faces south where you would want to put them is the area kind of facing that parking lot and then also facing Pioneer Trail. We thought it may be a little too prominent, a little bit too kind of standing as you pull in, that's the first thing you're going to see. And so what we've kind of looked at more is doing that for the amphitheater or doing kind of a solar array somewhere else in the park to then power the building. But we just thought putting it right front and center on the building there may kind of take away from that cabin type feel or that lake home type feel that we're trying to get with the new building here. So it's definitely something we're currently looking at. We're just trying to find that happy balance of where it would go.
One question I had was, I don't know if we can go back to the floor plan, but there was a door exiting the smaller warming house space. Where does that connect to?
So that connects to, so you kind of out to the, I can probably be easier to show on this. So that actually leads to a ramp that goes to the skating oval. If that's
Okay.
the door would be on the west side of that smaller warming house area.
And then I think with the bathrooms, one thing I would kind of wonder about, and if I'm envisioning, during the winter when you're having all these people sledding and stuff, if the warming house is not open, the path that they have to take from that area to get into the building, into the bathrooms, they have to go back all the way around and sort of the curved trail, then back up through the front. And it just seems like a pretty long ways to get around and get to the bathroom. I'm wondering if there's something where there is a more direct access over on that side of the building, or even alternatively, looking at the bathrooms, it looks like each one had at least 3 toilets in it. What if we actually made those smaller, then created a single unisex bathroom with a direct access in the back of the building for when, the rest of the building is closed and there's just that one bathroom there?
No, that's a great idea. We'll take a look at it.
Another, I guess, comment or question would be if, for the larger gathering space, if there's, setup for AV equipment or the ability for if someone, if it's a business meeting or something like that, have the ability to do that. A question then also with I forget what that room was called, the command room. Is there like an opening in, I guess I'm envisioning, and I don't know if it was shown on there, but like where there could be an opening and sort of a countertop. So if you had people like renting out skates, have some sort of thing that can roll up or down and close that room off or open it up if you have people in the back office servicing.
So there is a door directly from that command center, kind of that storage area, both directly outside. And we've looked at doing kind of a Dutch or double door, or whether it's just a door that we kind of keep open, or how we do that.
Is there like a service counter? I guess that's what I'm sort of, I don't know if I'm suggesting it, but I've just been in a warming house in Burnsville, I think it was, where they had the main area where you're putting on your shoes, and then there was a command thing where they had skates and skis to rent, and then there was, like when you think of concession stands or something, a roll up. So there's a counter, a roll up, so the people could be in that command center, standing there talking to somebody on the other side, renting skis and stuff. I don't know if that's something that whether or not you think we would need that for how it's going to be used.
I know that was something that we had looked at, going off memory. I think we removed that, but kind of in between the command center and that main gathering area. I know we had some type of window or something in there at one time. I'll take a look at it. And
just if there's a reason you think you might,
Yep.
If we are renting out skis or something like that, then that might be useful.
Yeah, and
And
definitely
then-
we want to be able to kind of have, whether it's sleds, tubes, skis, kind of be able to have that option there.
And then I guess also if someone had an event and where they did have food, or if they had people serving, you could have that a service counter there between those 2 rooms where maybe things would be laid out for guests to get the food and people to easily be working in the kitchen and setting it out.
Yep.
For out front, there's a large planter box area, what it looks like, and just looking at the rendering, and I've been to this building before, and I just kind of felt like it reminded me of Purgatory Park, where they have the fountain, if you know where I'm talking about, and it's round, and then it's sort of, it has planters around it, but people are always like sitting out there. I'm envisioning that front area, people are gonna be waiting to be picked up or dropped off or meeting their friends, and having that square planter, you're sort of sitting like with your back to each other. If there was something more where maybe it could be a round planter and people are looking in at a fountain or just the garden, something that kind of actually makes that space, acknowledges that people might be, hanging out there and waiting there and sitting there with people. Somehow use that space in more of a interactive way.
Okay. Yeah, that is, I can hopefully go back. So it will be a kind of a raised planter, and that's what we envision is if somebody's sitting there waiting to be picked up, that they could sit there. But yeah, we'll work with them and see if there's ways we can tie it and make it a little more inviting or gathering area.
Yeah.
And then I guess lastly is I kind of feel bad. I don't want to say anything negative, but I was a little underwhelmed with the architecture. It kind of seemed like it wasn't, we're going from this the current building, the new building kind of looks like similar architecture, like it could have been designed. I don't know, it already has a little bit of a dated look to me, and I know that's like a preference thing, but I thought that it just underwhelmed me with the architecture. And then secondly, it seemed a little cattywampus with the number of different roofs and buildings going on. I liked everything we're doing on the inside, and it kind of makes sense, and I really liked the curved wall, but from the outside, it just seemed like a lot of pieces that were kind of placed together, and something like, what happened. I envision usually you start off with like a rectangle, and then, maybe change it from there, but it seems overly more complex than it needs to be in terms of the shape of the building and all these jogs for, and I don't know how we got to the point where it is with the shape of the building. It was just very, lots of curves and edges and stuff. It just didn't seem efficient, and I'm wondering if Ed has any like more, knowledge, being an architect, behind whether or not you thought that was good or not. But I'm just trying to think construction costs too, and these really 4 different roofs if we count the pavilion going on, if there's a more efficient design than kind of all these different pieces being put together. That's all I got.
I sense a volley here. Thanks for the lead in, and I don't want to cut deeper, but I'm going to try and use my own words, and I share Commissioner Meddy's concerns about that. First of all, I love the plan, and I love the fact that the building's being enlarged. I like the program of the space, and I think you're doing an excellent job just bringing it all together. The building does need to get replaced, 35 years old, and this is great. I was struck at the outset of you saying that it's a destination amenity for our residents, and that resonates with me, and I think the rest of the commission. And as such, I think I'm finding some confusion and more importantly, inconsistency between the emphasis on design priority for our civic structures. Lately, as recent as just last month, we saw the new pump house, of course, at the water treatment, and that's not a destination facility, and yet that was treated with care and context. Fire station number 4 at 212 and Dell Road, treated with a high level of design integrity. Again, not even a destination, although people drive by it frequently. And this building will be frequented by hopefully every family in Eden Prairie to enjoy the wonderful amenities at Staring Lake Park. And I think being underwhelmed is an understatement. I don't think it's inspiring. I think it should be playful. It lacks context. There's a big hill, there's a lake, and I see no clues of that in the architecture whatsoever. So I don't want to necessarily blame you or the architect for that matter. I think everybody's capable of, I think it was just the charge going into it wasn't there like it was for our other civic structures. And so maybe there's a why question there. I think definitely more emphasis should be put into that. Now, I don't want to lose the functionality, because if there's a limited budget for that,
Yep.
I love all the functionality that we're presenting, and I hate to lose one of the finer amenities of the space in the interest of making the building a little bit more inspiring or dramatic or what have you. We don't want to do this for architecture's sake, but for such a thrilling civic building, and again, playful in nature, to invite the community to enjoy in all the outdoor events that our city has to offer, this was left far short.
Comments or discussion?
I'll speak up for just a second. I was trying to pick up on what it is you caught. That what was it that wasn't there, and that what you just said is it. And I don't know if we can even in a modest kind of way, find some element of the building that can kind of stand out and say, this is Starring Park. This is where we came from. I mean, literally, this was one of the big farming areas, and now it's dramatically different and has been shared with many different kinds of communities there, because we have lots of different events, and whether it's the pickleball folks or the events that happen at the amphitheater or the winter sports or whatever. But it is a very beautiful place, and maybe there's some possibility of trying something that comes between your thing with the roof and maybe it's just some more thinking about it, but of course the money has to be figured out too. So. Right.
And maybe that was really what needs to be said first, is the question why. What was this facility designed, set forth with a limited budget, and we need to replace it, and so we're looking for something of like kind,
right.
Or do we stretch and say, it's a new civic building for our community, let's stretch and do the right thing. For some of us who were at the workshop with the city council just 2 weeks ago, we were charged by one of the council members to have encouraged building designs to be long life expectancy, durable, well designed, by one of the council members, and I guess that's just fresh in my head. And now here we are doing our own building, and we're not following those principles.
Not to be in disagreement with the discussion, I think this is an excellent discussion, but the one thing that struck me when I looked at the design was the semicircular design in the windows.
Yeah, that's good.
What came to mind is I was in a facility actually in Banff, Canada, and we had a dinner, and it had the semicircular windows looking out over the Canadian Rockies. And just using that kind of design to appreciate what we have, because to me, Starring Lake is absolutely one of the gems of Eden Prairie. I've probably walked around Starring Lake 400 or 500 times, and just marvel every time I do, because that whole park and that whole area is just so fantastic. And it's such a great place, and to have that glass looking out over it, I think is fantastic. Now, and that's not to diminish or disagree with the earlier comments, but that to me is something that I really liked about the design, and you need to keep it. If there could be a little more character added, all the better. But really emphasizing that outdoors aspect. And I love the idea of kind of having a winter emphasis. It's so easy to emphasize the summers here, and Starring Lake is a place that we truly do kind of enjoy or celebrate the winter with the sledding hill and the skating oval and all of that. So I thought that was great. So, but I love all those windows. I'd hate to see anything touch that.
I have another question. Regarding something we don't really pass on here at all, the commission, when the Parks and Rec Commission looked at this, was there any discussion about how the changing its staffing is going to have to happen in this particular arrangement that you've got in mind?
No, we don't see much. We currently staff the building now. There may have to be kind of in those peak periods, go from one staff member to two, kind of looking over the two separate areas, but we will have cameras and monitors in that control center area, so even if they stayed in there, they'd be able to see both the skating area and kind of around the building.
That's great.
So,
I was going to ask about cameras, but I kind of put it in the back. Okay.
Has there been a a problem with people breaking windows there or any other small crimes like that?
Not at this building.
Okay,
No, not
there's
at
some
Starn.
really heavy-duty security mesh screening over all the windows there
Yep.
now, and I didn't know if it was because of some light vandalism or just,
No, that's actually something that we have on all of our buildings. We're, with the glass material or using a plexiglass, we're hoping to get rid of that because we want to keep that view
Yep.
looking down over the lake.
okay. In
hopefully
the
we
summertime,
don't
are you
have
going
to
to be
use-
able to have windows that are openable to let the breeze flow through?
That I'm not sure. That I'll have to double check, but,
That would be a
yeah.
great feature, in my opinion.
Okay.
You know, is there, just thinking about making the building memorable, I'm thinking about driving up to the community center and the, you know, the statue artwork that they have. I mean, is there something as simple as that that could be done? And I'm speculating here that cost is an issue, as it always is. And so, is you know, is there something in that entry area where you drive, as you drive around that circle, that kind of sets off the building, or, you know, I don't know, characterizes, I don't know, I'm not using the right words, Ed, but what you
Sure,
and Carol were talking about is, you know, bring some uniqueness to that building and some, making it memorable.
Spot on.
Yeah, I think along that lines, from my perspective, like having a story. So the water pump station had a story. It was a great story. Here, I don't know the history of Staring Lake. If it's old farmlands, you know, is it a barn, you know, style, which would be a complete deviation from where we're at now. So I'm not saying that you have to go that way, but like something that sort of maybe has some sort of connection or meaning, but a lot of it is just how the story is told.
A lot about architecture is the procession towards entering and leaving a destination.
That's true.
This is on the edge of,
Something else.
it's the edge of a bluff, if you will, down to the lake. It's on a high plot of land. There's a vista, and as you approach it, there's no clue. The architecture doesn't lead you towards that. It doesn't start giving any hints. So it's not necessarily just a selection of material necessarily. It's what is to come. It's providing you a little bit of a story on your way. And it's also supposed to be welcoming to its core group of users, visitors. And this is a playful, fun, family place, kids running all around. And I don't think the scale of the building is necessarily friendly to a small person. With the heavy roofs, deep shadows, it doesn't look very kid-friendly. I could look at that rendering without a title and not knowing if that was the entrance to the insurance company that I do business with, or a skating facility for our family on Saturday afternoons. There should be a
difference.
big difference in design integrity and sending those architectural messages. And it can be done with things like Commissioner Kirk's talking about, fun sculpture in front of that to bring something memorable, playful maybe, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
It can
I
be
was
done
just-
with a variety of materials.
Yeah, I was trying to find that, you know, a lot of work has gone into this.
Yeah.
A complete
some-
redesign is
yeah.
unlikely, but what can we do
Right.
to get that flavor
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
either slight modifications to the design or add-on?
Right. And I don't even know if that's appropriate for this particular project.
either.
That's why the inconsistency struck me more than anything. Again, how did we get to fire station number 4? Was that 8 years ago? How was that possibly conceived of, budgeted for, and constructed for not even a destination building? And here we have a
I very much-
destination building.
I was on the commission at that time, and
You?
I remember that. It really was neighborhood context was the most important thing.
Residential area right
There was the residential area and the neighborhood commercial area right next to it, and the city went out of their way to build that, to put the fire station in context with the residential area and the small residential or community, what do I want to say, the small commercial there. And yeah, for such a, and that's a big structure. And for it not to
Yeah.
dominate, but to fit in as well as it was, I agree
Absolutely.
with you, it was very successful.
Absolutely. And if a site ever had context, our site here does.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
waiting.
that was very much what was brought to the party, because
Yeah.
I very much remember the approval process on
Sure.
that building.
Sure. That's great.
Right. Good discussion. I don't think there's any action, just informational item, correct?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, that's correct. It's just informational items, so no formal action is required by the Planning Commission.
Okay, great.
Just one last comment on my part. Hooray for the city and for your group, Matt, for investing in the gem that Staring Lake is and continuing to build and invest in it. It's, boy, couldn't put our city resources in a better place, my opinion.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Moore. All right, moving on this evening, any planners reports tonight, Julie?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, just a reminder that next Tuesday, the Planning Commission is invited to the City Council work session, Tuesday, February 19th. Work session, light dinner at 5, work session at 5:30. The topic of conversation will be housing, so you are all invited. If you have not responded, or RSVP'd rather, please do so to Lori so that we can have an accurate count and make sure you're planned for. And then just a reminder, I think this was also addressed in an email, but the Planning Commission meeting for February 25th has been canceled.
So next Tuesday.
Great. Okay. Any members' reports? Continuing business, new business? Entertain a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn the Planning Commission meeting.
We have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
So that's the 19th, isn't it?